Here's your host, Dennis Rimmer.
Thank you, and welcome back. It's another edition of your favorite podcast, I'm sure, talking books and writing and stuff. And today we're going to talk about books and writing and stuff, and even music a little bit with Rebecca Hendricks from the Colorado area. So first of all, Rebecca, thank you very much for spending some time with us today.
Thank you for having me, Dennis. It's great to be here.
So, Rebecca, let's just start off by who are you? Like, where did you come from? Where did you come from? And your background, your early background, just that kind of introductory stuff. Let us know who you are.
Okay, well, I'm a Colorado native. I've lived here all of my life. Grew up in a suburb of Denver called Westminster. I just had I guess you would call your normal middle class upbringing. I've been writing since I was a little girl, just basically, writing poems and poetry and stuff to start. And then I wrote some short stories and a couple of plays. And then I started writing books or stories, like full stories, when I was like 14.
So when you first started writing, did you use, pen and paper? Or I see a picture here of you with a typewriter. So do you start using a typewriter at a young age?
Yeah, you're right. I just start with pen and paper. And that typewriter in the picture with me has a special meaning because, yes, I did type on that typewriter with one finger because I didn't know how to type. And, that typewriter belonged to my father, so it was those old typewriters like that were really, really hard to type on. Yep. So you really had to push those keys down. But yeah, I was still too young to really know how to type, but I could peck it out pretty cool.
Well, that's great. Yeah, well, I love typewriters. I have a couple of them myself, and I know a guy near here who repairs them because it's getting harder and harder to kind of find the parts you need these days, even something as basic as a ribbon. So that's great. So you're writing at a young age. Now, most of the people I talk to say that they also, of course, are early readers in the sense of you read a lot as a kid. Do you remember some of your favorite books and authors as a kid? Who were your favorite authors back then?
Well, I really enjoyed Laura Ingalls, of course, Little House on the Prairie series. I remember, bedtime was a certain time, and I remember, trying to hide under the covers and read it because, not let the light show. But, I loved her series. I devoured it pretty much. She was, about the only, and of course I read, some of the classics, like Tom Sawyer, some of those, can't think. Black Beauty, some of those older stories from back in the day. I loved Sherlock Holmes. I loved reading The Hound of Baskervilles and things like that.
Right. Yeah, they're great. Actually, I listened to a lot of them.
Three Musketeers.
Oh, I've never read that, actually. Just the classic comic
from
the old
days.
Days.
It's a great book.
But now that you're a writer, do you write full-time or do you have a job outside the house, or how does that work for you?
Yes, I do have a full-time job. And so, because I am a new author, I'm just starting out. So it's, you don't, unless you're really lucky and can hit it big in the beginning, you kind of have to do both. It's very much a juggle. And it's getting increasingly harder because I am starting to gain a little bit of traction, and I'm working on the third book. So
yeah,
it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot. So why do you write? What's in it for you?
It's my passion. It's my dream. I love to write. I basically, when I started writing when I was younger, I basically did it because it was a form of entertainment for myself. My family, my parents were very much, didn't want you to spend a lot of time in front of the TV. They wanted you to explore other things like art and stuff. So, it was a real, and I didn't have a whole hell of a lot of friends, a whole heck of a lot of friends. So it was just a form of entertainment for me and a way to write a story. So that's why.
That's great. And now that you're all grown up, when do you find the I hope you're not, but when do you find the time?
Yeah, I'm not.
with your life the way it is with a full-time job, when do you find the time to write? How do you carve out that time?
Whenever I know it's whenever I can find time. Like I'll do a lot of it on my lunch hour. I'll do some of it, at night at home. I type on the weekends. Just whenever I can find a spare moment. I know there are a lot of authors who do have a dedicated time slot, but I just try to fit it in as much as possible when I can, and then try to juggle in all the rest of it that goes along with it as well.
And
so it's a lot.
Yep, and I guess if you want to be a writer, you have to write. I guess you found that out.
Yes, yeah, and that's the fun part. That's the part that, for me anyway, that makes it worthwhile. Is the writing part. I love creating a story. That's the best part of all.
And like a lot of people say, I wish I had the time to write, and when I retire, I will write. But I've run into lots of people over the years who write whenever and wherever they can. Like you said, you write on your lunch hour, let's say. I remember going into town on a bus once out in the West Coast, and next to me was a famous author, the one who inspired the Field of Dreams book, William Kinsella, and he's writing on the bus. He's got a paper and pad, and he's writing on the bus. There's 40 minutes a day or whatever where you could be writing. So, yeah, you have to write if you want to be a writer. And that's why I don't. I just talk to people who are writers. So that's my thrill. So Rebecca Hendricks is with us, and the reason why is because we have the Hound Dogged series. And the book I have in hand now is A Hard Dog's Night. It's the Hound Dogged series book 2. So there's a quick reference there to the Beatles right off the bat.
Yeah.
Now, you're much too young to have grown up with the Beatles, so how did you get that connection to the Beatles?
Well, thank you so much. When they first came to America, of course, in 1964, that's the year I was born. I had my own private little Beatle mania when I got into my teens. And it's really kind of a funny story because I didn't like them at first. But a friend of mine did, and we were listening to Sgt. Pepper, and I was like, it's terrible, but I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
So I listened to it again, and then again and again, and then the rest is history. But I was behind the times. And of course, I remember the night that John Lennon was shot like it was yesterday. I didn't have that many years to have Beatlemania before he passed. But
enough to get into it. But actually, the book I have is the book 2 of the series. It's the Hound Dogged series. So how did this all start?
Well, I wrote the first kind of version of it, if you will, which is, and I mean very loosely, back when I was 14. And I don't know, I got reminiscent, and I reread the series, and I never was real happy with the first book, so I decided I had nothing else to do, so I decided I would rewrite it, and I did. And then my husband bugged me until he could read it, and then he was like, you got to do something with this. This is really good. You got to do something. And I was like, nah. And then he kept talking to me, and I finally tried it. I mean, I had tried to get published back in the 80s, and that was, of course, before self-publishing was a thing, and it was a lot harder. So I gave it another shot, and I'm glad I did.
That's great. So, what is it? Tell us what's going on, because in part 2, I'll call it A Hard Dog's Night, the Hound Dogs are searching for a drummer to complete their lineup when the Dice hire their old drummer away from them, right? So there's going to be some action going on here. So set us up. How's the book number 1 and book number 2? How do they tie together?
Yeah, well, book 1 basically covers, the relationship with the initial band members, how they all meet and how they all form their relationship together. They meet Danny, who is, is really like the most talented person they've ever met. They live in a small town, and he's there. He's living with his aunt and uncle in the beginning, but they really, form a bond with him. But he is auditioning for a band that is up and coming and is about ready to make a record, and so he ends up being hired by them. And so that kind of starts that drama for Danny anyway, where he's trying to fit in with this band that's really good and really coming up, but they're a band of narcissists. So he doesn't really connect with them as much as he does his friends. Yes. So that's kind of that. And then second book, yes.
And the second one goes on from there. And we're talking, yes, with Rebecca Hendricks about her series. It's the Hound Dogged series. Number 1 in the book was the Hound Dogs, and in the series, number 2 is a Hard Dog's Night. And what is the audience? Who are the readers that you have attracted to this series?
Well, it's the book is considered to be a young adult historical history, but it's attracting an older audience, actually. People that are nostalgic and people that like, the coming of age story part and the music part. So I don't know if I really targeted any really young adults yet, but it is attracting a very diverse older audience.
And
kind of cool.
The character, yeah, that's great. The characters in the book, what attracts you the most? What interests you the most about the people you write about?
The fact that they're wanting to follow their dreams, and the obstacles that they're coming up against that are blocking them, are trying to block them. The fact that they keep fighting and they keep hanging in there, and they don't give up. And it's the strong friendship that the Hound Dogs have. The group forms a really strong friendship, and that's what draws me to it.
And it's the Hound Dog series, and I'll just read right off the back of the book. Hard Dog's Night, the second book in the Hound Dog series, a unique blend of historical fiction, coming of age, and the power of music as it forever alters lives in the name of rock and roll. Good old rock and roll. I don't care what the people say, rock and roll is here to stay. So
yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, where can we get the books, Rebecca?
You can get them. Both the audio and paperback are available on Amazon.
So that's quick and easy. And now you were talking earlier about self-publishing, so I'm assuming you are a self-published author?
Yes.
Can you describe in 50 words or less the pitfalls, the ups and downs of being a self-published writer? It's a lot harder than one would think, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I guess it's kind of what your vision is for you. If you're wanting the amount of success you want, if you want to just write a book and put it on Amazon, you can do that pretty easily. But it's the marketing,
yes,
and trying to get your book out there, and trying to have people read it, and do podcast interviews and stuff like that. That's the hard part. And since you are self-published, I'm not going to lie, it's expensive.
Yeah.
So if you don't really care about that piece, then it's not such a big deal. But anything, as we all know, in this world costs money. So it's a lot, and you have to do the social media thing and try to promote with a bunch of other people that are trying to promote, and you need to try to get reviews.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's the product itself one might also say it might be the easy part of it. The rest of it is, like you said, is the marketing and the selling and getting out there and getting your name known and circulating in reader circles and getting it into bookstores and libraries and things like that. So that's the hard part. But what's next for you, Rebecca Hendricks, before we wrap this up? What's coming up next?
Well, I'm working on book 3 right now. The plan is for the series to be completed in 4 books. And then I want to work on some different types of books and different storylines. Like, there's a couple of standalones I want to do, There's another story of a younger boy who is really into the hot rods. So yeah, so that's where I'm headed
And
for now.
when do you have time to give new life to your antique dolls?
Yeah, boy, that's really kind of been put on the back burner because I'm pretty much out of spare time.
Oh well.
But I do hope to get back into it someday. I mean, hopefully it won't be too much longer till I can retire, but you never know.
Never know. Okay, well, Rebecca, thank you very
Yep.
much. But before we go, can you rattle off your website for us, please?
Yeah, it's Rebecca Hendricks author.com.
And that's REBECCAHENDRICKS author.com, and that's all one big word, right?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
It's a mouthful.
Yep. Okay. Well, Rebecca, thank you very much and continued good luck.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you for visiting with us today. This is Talking Books and Stuff with Dennis Rimmer. Contact him at dennis@talkingbooks.tk. Thank you, and may all the good news be yours. Oh, and don't forget to check out his book, The Great Canadian Notebook, available across Canada and at amazon.ca.